Hoi there, it's me RainHet. One of the most fundamental and terrifying aspects of 3D modelling is communicating with clients, and there's no better way to do that than visually. Creating intricate avatars can be extremely time consuming. Some jobs will take 3 weeks, while others will take months of your life force, so being on the same page is important. This time, I went the extra mile and dedicated a whole 25 hours to design the perfect blueprint for the final 3D piece. I came through Google and Pinterest with real-life references and pushed my style to the brink of collapse. I'd love to show you the end result, but I aim for my models to be a one-to-one with the reference, and this one is no exception. All that's left now is to refine the base and bring this creation to life, so stay tuned for the next video. Farewell! Hoi there, it is I, RainHet. While I say I create all my models from scratch, that doesn't necessarily mean every job starts with a single vertex. The secret ace up my sleeve is a little thing I call a base. It's a fully rigged body that I tend to repeatedly go back to. All it needs is to be stretched and warped to match a new reference. But I do make my own bases and update them every now and then, so it's not like it's a lie. This time, instead of using my usual base, I turned to a model made by the incredibly talented Julius. Even though I did make some topology and shape adjustments, I certainly can't claim it 100%. The goal was to do a recolor, but I didn't want to be restricted, so a lot of the model got completely flipped upside down to match my work better. The hair, head, clothes are completely redone, and well, aside from keeping a few things the same, I just wanted to make the best thing I've ever made. It wasn't the most efficient idea, but it certainly was the prettiest. Subscribe to see how it turned out. Farewell! Hoi there, RainHet here. I'd like to open up about a little mishap that had rendered me paralysed with the thought of having to lose 5 hours of my precious time. Figuring out the right price for your work can be quite the hassle, especially when you typically don't factor in the possibility of screwing up and having to wipe clean hours of effort. Shift happens. Sometimes you have to take a deep breath and accept that your current work just isn't working. You eventually realize that fixing what is broken might just take more effort than starting over, and it's not always worth it. So goodbye 5 hours of hard work. At least a lot of people like the new tale over on Twitter. So what about you? When have you had to let go of something you've invested time in to make room for something greater? And don't say your ex-partner, you cheeky sods. See you in the next video. Farewell! Hoi there, it's me RainHet. Isn't the world of expectations such a weird terrain to venture through? The internet is just the place to realise that recognition is not directly correlated to effort put in. 27 hours went into crafting these giant waves. The goal was to create the most fantastical jaw-dropping hair you've ever seen on a Vtuber avatar. And I impressed myself, but it didn't really turn around my 3D art career or give me any special treatment, leg up or anything like that. I can be quite judgmental, mostly of myself, which is why I wanted to be better than my best in the first place. Joke's on me though, while I was chasing 100% perfection, people's 70% perfect was doing just as well if not better. Not saying the hair isn't great, just saying life isn't always logical, like when I worked in a cafe that one time. I made the extra effort to make sure not a single customer got a dirty glass, only to get yelled at for not putting out drinks fast enough. Gotta work smarter, not harder in the real world. Is that too controversial of me to say? Catch the next video tomorrow. Farewell! Hoi there, Rain here. I've been doodling as soon as I got a hold of crayons. I didn't even think at that point I could spell my name properly. As a throwback to the Rain baby days, here's a dragon I drew when I was 5. I even won first prize with it. In school, I was known as the girl that drew anime. I too was obsessed with the famous How to Draw manga books when I was growing up, but I wanted to go past that and craft my own style. I wasn't even good at anime, and I haven't gotten much better at it since. I made comics, watched many tutorials, and even copied from other artists. After all that, I think I finally got to a point where my art was somewhat identifiable as mine. Yet still, after all that hard work to establish myself, people still to this day have the nerve to call my art anime. What were you known as in school? The bully? Big dumpy McGee? Anyway, mortals, see you in the next video. Farewell! Hoi there, it's RainHet. Mastering the art of hair is probably a bit far-fetched for me personally. Artists tend to consider hands their arch nemesis, but for me, in both drawing and 3D modelling, hair has been the bane of my existence. I've looked up to ABD Illustrate, Siren, Eric Anthony J, Jundy, Loish, Melody, Quinny Art, Rostrals, and several more, all with unique ways of drawing hair, but I never seemed to get it quite right until I made my own style with everything I've learned. This was the best worst mistake of my life. This is the most delectable, delightful time-siphoning horror I've ever been remotely proud of. There's so many layers and colours and blending. I don't know why I did this to myself, but this is the hill I've cast myself to lie on. Whoever decided to make scalp spaghetti so complicated and fluid? Or do you think hands are more difficult to make? Well, looks like the base is done. I'll show you the full thing tomorrow in action. Farewell! Hoi there, it's me RainHet. Here's something I didn't show making in the shorter videos. There are a lot of cute emotes for this model. There are 14 main ones, and it has 52 unrelated separate shape keys for ARKit on top of that. It's completely full body compatible too. But if you don't know what that is, I have trackers on my hands, head, hips and feet as a minimum. That's why my lower body movements are a bit more fluid than an idle animation or IK math. What do you think? Was it worth the extra effort for the little details? Hoi there, it's me RainHet. I used to send my clients away with faces that were modest and pre-underweared. Over time, I came to realize that a truly customizable base isn't entirely customizable if it isn't a little cheeky. But I promise it's not like that. Some folks like to take their avatars to the beach, and that means scrubbing away my cute grandma floral pantsuit for something, well, a tad more daring, if you know what I mean. So if you ever see me brushing some buns over on twitch.tv, rest assured, I'm just making sure your favourite VTubers can indulge in a hot tub stream or two. And let's not forget about those cute bunny girl leotards. Every avatar needs at least one of those. Until the next clothing video, take the chance and get rid of those pants. Farewell! Hoi there, it's RainHet. Unsurprisingly, dressing a 3D model isn't quite like dressing a human body. In the Avatar universe, we have the luxury of ignoring anything that isn't visible. That shirt under your jacket can end up just being a triangle, or your entire torso might end up getting eradicated. Typically, I end up meticulously one by one kissing every vertex together to get rid of the gaps between clothes and even skin. It's a long, time-consuming process, but this time I opted to keep the skirts separate since there were two different versions of them. It did lead to me spending more time fixing clipping issues down the line, but this is what I signed up for. I'm pretty sure your average person wouldn't get why I spend the extra time on little things like this, but outside of clipping, it does help your poly count be significantly lower when you get rid of everything that's unnecessary. Do you do this too? See you tomorrow. Farewell! Hoi there again, RainHet here. I tend to work with a lot of layers. A base layer, gradients, shadow layer, highlights layer, and that's just where it starts. This helps me keep things clean and avoid messing up whatever I've painted beneath. On the plus side, I can hand the layers to my clients. They can edit them individually and together so they can change colours seamlessly, or just doodle on it without messing with the light and shadows. This does, however, mean that they'd get a bunch more extra files that they might not have any desire to use or even look at. Would you want access to that kind of flexibility, or would it not be of any interest to you? Personally, I love buying models and editing the textures to match my OCs. Tell me what you think below. Until next time, farewell! Hoi there, it's RainHet. When you invest your hard-earned money into something, you want to get every penny's worth. But when you're spending money on someone who dedicates weeks or even months of their life to craft something for you, a bit of open-mindedness doesn't hurt anyone. All the time going back and forth between testing, fixing and adjusting the product for the client's ongoing requests, is something that all artists should keep in mind while pricing their work. It's equally important for clients to make this journey as smooth as possible. Commissioning art shouldn't be treated like wine tasting. Trying out new ideas you're not sure about should happen in the early stages of planning. During the main commission, it's time to focus on only fixing the little things that truly matter. Perfection isn't something you can force upon someone else. Sometimes you need to put your FOMO and anxiety to rest a little so you don't spend your time seeing how hard you can push and squeeze your artist until you get every last drop of artist toothpaste out of them. Or do you think it's fair to nitpick every tiny little detail? Farewell! Hoi there, RainHet here. I recently came to the realization that I kind of like my job, even though I was never really aiming for it before I got here. While it can be stressful, frustrating, and completely draining at times, there are definitely some things that get me up in the morning. Like connecting those quads one by one to slowly carve out the most flowy topology you've ever seen, or going into a VR MMD dance world, putting on some K-pop or Vocaloid music, and watching my avatars bust it down while I hunt for errors. It's pretty entertaining to say the least, but my absolute favourite part of my job might sound ungrateful. Finishing the commission 100% takes the cake. There's nothing like being able to say, I'm done, you're done, here are your files, and leave me alone. I love being able to point to something and say, I did that, while knowing I have zero obligation to anything about it or with it ever again. Farewell.
雨の日はきっと傘を忘れる泥だらけ靴の中金魚が踊っている理性を捨てちゃおうメイクもずれたうまくいかないねいつ晴れるでしょう嫌いなのもう食べたくないばかり考えて時を過ごすああ近づいた夏の気配歌るその声